Water, unlike food and shelter, cuts across the broad spectrum of nearly all human needs. In addition, all the key drivers of the national economy depend on water for their sustenance. Taking cognizance of these needs, the government has taken the lead in ensuring that all corners of the country are well supplied with water for domestic consumption and other uses by instituting appropriate reforms in the water sector. The reforms have led to formation of various institutions tasked with specific roles and responsibilities, all geared towards the realization of this broad goal. Lake Victoria North Water Services Board is one among 8 water service boards which were established under the Water Act with the responsibility of ensuring provision of quality and affordable water and sanitation services in their respective jurisdiction areas in the country.
The major role of the board is to develop infrastructure. The setup in the sector is such that the boards are mandated with the infrastructure development, while the actual provision of water and sanitation services is done through the water service providers, the water companies.
The board's region of coverage spreads across 8 counties located in the Western Region and North Rift.
Our main business or our mandate is to do with economic and efficient provision of water and sanitation services. We have presence in 8 counties. 8 counties all the way from Nandi, Uasin Gishu, Trans Nzoia, the old Western, that is Bungoma, Kakamega, Busia, and Vihiga. We've been very lucky to have very strong partners, the major ones being the World Bank, KFW, other partners like UNICEF, who have really supported us, and the board has invested a lot in terms of expansion of water and sanitation infrastructure. Over the last 5 years, the board has developed infrastructure in the major towns in our area of coverage. We're talking about Eldoret, Kitale, Bungoma, Webuye, Kakamega, and the smaller towns, Kapsabet, Busia, Nambale.
Soon after inception, the board formulated a long-term investment plan guided by the respective water and sanitation demand levels in each location of the board's service area. Places with greater needs were given priority in the board's planning. One of the biggest programs under the long-term water and sanitation services provision plans of the Lake Victoria North Water Services Board is the Nzoia Cluster Program. The program was planned and has been implemented in 3 phases since 2007.
Since inception, we have had several programs funded by different donors. We had Nzoia Cluster Phase 1, which was covering the towns of Kitale, Bungoma, and Webuye. This was funded by the German Development Bank, referred to as KFW. So in Kitale, there was a expansion of Kitale water supply. Previously, it used to be a pumping scheme. So we developed a gravity scheme to serve Kitale. We constructed a treatment works of 10,500 cubic meters per day. Then we had several distribution lines and water kiosks. Then in Webuye, we had also rehabilitation of the existing Webuye treatment works along River Nzoia. Then we did another treatment works of around 7,500 cubic meters per day.
The first phase, Nzoia Cluster Phase 1, which was implemented in Trans Nzoia and Bungoma counties at a cost of 2.3 billion shillings, is complete and now serves an additional 200,000 consumers in Kitale, Webuye, and Bungoma towns. Under the second phase of the Nzoia Cluster Program, Nzoia Cluster 2, the new water supplies were constructed in Kakamega, Busia, and Nambale towns, in addition to Masinde Muliro and Shirere sewage ponds in Kakamega at a combined cost of 3.2 billion shillings. The Nzoia Cluster Phase 2 was completed and commissioned in October 2010, and currently serves over 120,000 new consumers in Kakamega and Busia counties.
Initially, we used to be served by National Water and Pipeline Corporation. And the water, we could not go for a week without having an interruption. But since the commissioning of the new works, the only time we have ever had a problem is when there is a major breakdown on the main supply line, and is normally handled within a very short time. The treatment ponds are like a godsend. I know initially when they were taking the demand, the water demand, I think it was HB Gulf, when they came to interview us on our water demand, we requested them that after you supply us water, you should also provide the treatment works, because by then we were using septic tanks. And we really had problems with the community around because the treatment works could not actually contain our discharge. So overflow was going into the streams, and sooner or later we were going to have problems with the NEMA. But since then, I think that problem has been solved.
The board is in the process of implementing the third and the final phase of the Nzoia Cluster Program, the Nzoia Cluster Phase 3, with funding from the World Bank and the Government of Kenya under a project dubbed Water and Sanitation Services Improvement Program, WASIP, at a cost of 3.2 billion Kenya shillings. The WASIP program targets construction of a new water supply system for Mumias Town in Kakamega County, Kimilili Water Supply Project in Bungoma County, Lumakanda, Kipkaren, Eldoret and Lesos Water Projects in Uasin Gishu County, Kapcherop and Kapsowar in Elgeyo Marakwet County, and Kaimosi Japtulu Serem in Buhija County. The expansion of the Chebara water supply in Eldoret, a town that is fast gaining prominence as the economic and agricultural hub of the North Rift region, has boosted water output from 18,000 to 28,000 cubic meters per day. This was in addition to expansion of water distribution networks of the town in order to reach more areas that were not being served in the town.
In the last 2 years, under the WASIP project, there has been expansion of the treatment plant to make sure that it produces the maximum capacity of 26,000 cubic meters.
In Mumias, the Mumias Water Supply Project, also funded jointly by the Government of Kenya and the World Bank at a cost of 1.6 billion shillings, is almost complete. The new gravity system has an intake source some 28 kilometers from Mumias town and a 5,000 cubic meters concrete tank at Ekero Center near Mumias town to boost water storage and supply in the town. The new Mumias water supply shall increase production of water from the current 1,618 to over 15,000 meters cubed per day, enough to serve more than 150,000 people, the projected population of Mumias town in the year 2025. The Lumakanda Kipkaren water supply, located at the boundary of Uasin Gishu and Kakamega counties, presents a unique cross-county water utility, a case of inevitable sharing of resources for neighboring counties. The new Lumakanda Kipkaren treatment works, with a capacity of 1,200 cubic meters a day, was also constructed under the WASIP program to serve Lumakanda and Kipkaren town centers. In Bungoma County, the Kimilili Water Supply Project, in its final stages to completion at a cost of over 281 million shillings, is set to increase water production capacity of the old system from the current 2,800 to 5,000 cubic meters per day, in addition to increasing distribution lines to reach more people in Kimilili municipality and adjacent rural areas of Ndivisi, Betuyu, Misihu and Lugulu. Other projects recently done by the board include Nakayonjo Water Supply and the Mbale Water Supply, both implemented with financial support from the Italian government. In Kapsabet town, a new water supply has just been completed and operationalized courtesy of a grant from the Japanese government through the Japanese International Cooperation Agency.
Water was a very big problem here. We have a stream which is karibu 2 kilometers away from here, and the children used to go all the way in the morning and lunchtime, in the evening, to fetch water for drinking. It was very hazardous. There was a lot of problems, sicknesses, the waterborne diseases, and we used to transport the children even from the classroom to the hospital. It was a real big problem. But thank God, when this water came from Lake Victoria water supply, it has helped a lot. Honestly, it has helped.
In the rural areas, Lake Victoria North Water Services Board, with partnership mainly with Water Services Trust Fund, UNICEF, Danida, FINIDA and the Government of Kenya, has developed several small water supply schemes and point sources, including boreholes, protected springs and shallow wells, appropriate for supply in the rural areas. In Busia County alone, for example, water and sanitation facilities worth over 108 million shillings have been developed under the UNICEF-funded WASH program in the last 3 years. The program has had significant reduction of cases of waterborne diseases in Busia County, a county which had suffered perennial outbreaks of such diseases, especially during the rainy seasons. So far, consumers in the board service area have little to complain about.
WASH program main objective is to contribute to the child survival and development in Kenya. In Busia County, we have been working with the Water Service Board and District Water Office. Our main focus in this area is to provide community safe water supply as well as for provision of safe water supply in schools and health facilities in this county.
Looking forward to the years to come, the board recently launched a 5-year strategic plan for 2012 to 2017. The plan presents strategic direction for the attainment of the board's mandates, especially with regard to expanding access levels even further.
In the plan, we've outlined very ambitious targets. As you know, the challenges of ensuring wide coverage, water and sanitation coverage, without adequate funding, it's very difficult to attain. So in our strategic plan, we've outlined our objectives and strategies on how we will ensure that the majority of the population in the region, that is our area of coverage, actually they have adequate provision of water and sanitation services.
The plan took cognizance of the devolution process and proposes ways of building synergy between the board and the county governments towards the expansion of water and sanitation services levels.
Perhaps the water sector is one of the few sectors that had already devolved, if you like, because we have 8 water service boards which cover the entire country. So therefore, we were already engaging up to the lowest level in the constitution. The provision of water services, water and sanitation is the responsibility of the county government. When we engage with the governors, first and foremost, we are saying that we are partners. We are not competitors. We've set up water companies that are operating on market-based approach, and we would like this to continue so that there is no disruption even as we prepare during the transition period.
In the next 5 years, Lake Victoria North Water Services Board targets to increase water service coverage from the current 57% to 75% and sewerage coverage in urban areas by 35% from the current 25% to 60%.
The resource requirements for water and sanitation, the resource requirements are huge. For example, sewerage. If doing a sewerage infrastructure for one town runs into billions of shillings, and the county governments will not be able to do that. So we are saying we will play our role of mobilizing resources from whatever sources, be it from the development partners, from a private sector. Then we channel these resources into developing the infrastructure then we hand over to the water companies to manage